Yo, what's good, y'all? Yes, Lord. We back for one more episode, for the final episode of this season and of 2020. Welcome back to another episode of Introspective Thoughts. I hope you've enjoyed this inaugural season of this here podcast. Thank you for joining me on this journey, on this ride of introspective, of thinking, of nigga shit, of my shenanigans, of learning, of all this other great stuff that we've done. I hope you've enjoyed all of the wonderful guests that we've had. I hope you've enjoyed the knowledge that they've dropped. I hope you've enjoyed just being here and sharing the space with me, because I definitely enjoy y'all being here. So y'all know that I have a special guest here, because y'all know I'm not doing this shit by myself. That one time was cute, but we got to make it do what it do. And this is, for me, a great person to have for this last episode of this season and of the calendar year of 2020, because I know it's been a wild year. It's been a wild ride for everybody, right? But this guest that I have on is a longtime friend, longtime mentor, former co-worker of mine, English teacher extraordinaire, a teacher who decided to write their way to freedom and currently freelance writing and publishing, and is in transition like the rest of us, because 2020, my God, if this ain't been a transition year for you, I don't know what to tell you, because I know for me, it's been one for me, as I've told y'all on several episodes up until this point. But with the goal still to constantly be in alignment, as always, and as it is, in order for our higher selves and our highest good. Make some noise and welcome to the show, Miss Chelsie Bennett. Yes. How are you, love?
I'm well. How are you?
Ooh, child, I'm motherfucking tired.
Aren't we all?
I mean, like, for real, like, I mean, this year, like I said, this year alone is exhausting in itself. And y'all know I'm in this doctoral program, and I'm just trying to, get it done and get it through and push my way through. But luckily, we are on break until the end of January.
Hey,
God, huh?
I know you felt it.
Yeah, God. Woo, don't make me holler in this. I will run around this apartment. Don't y'all make me do it today, because I will do it. Let me quit. So how are things? And tell the people about yourself. Introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are, who you be, what you do, and all that other great jazz.
Okay, so when you say I'm a teacher that decided to write my way to freedom, I up and quit my job. Not a promotion, about a year and a half ago. And it just kind of led me to blogging, to now freelance writing. I'm in the process of editing a workbook, that's hopefully going to be in multiple facilities across Tennessee. We're going to speak that. And so just working through that. But again, like I said, more so in transition and figuring out what 2021 is going to look like. Even considering going back into a full-time job. So that's, it's different.
I feel that. Look,
We're integrating a lot right now.
I feel that. Ooh, I love that we're in integration, because that's kind of the basis of what we're gonna be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, again, with this being the very last episode of 2020, we're gonna take this as an episode, as a year in review, and look at all the things that we learned over this past year, integrate them as far as alignment is concerned, so that way we can start off 2021 with a bang. Because
bang, baby, boom,
I mean,
all that.
Because 2020, I mean, the veil was not even lifted. That mug was ripped, snatched, torn down, and set on fire. Mm-hmm. And if your veil is still working, good for you, I guess. But for the rest
of us, some people who really, it's still there.
And I don't know how, because like, I don't know what world you've been in. I know for me, I've still been off in my own little bubble, but even in my own little bubble, I still have got together on multiple occasions.
I
And
think,
so,
I don't know. Yeah, I think in general, everyone has experienced some type of struggle or some type of shakeup this year. But no, for me, I saw the bottom this year. So
I seen the bottom, I
I
seen
saw the bottom.
beneath the bottom, I saw
Mhm.
adjacent to the bottom. What was the episode of SpongeBob where he went down a little into the trench? Was it rock bottom? And it, they
I'm not that person to know that. I'm sorry.
for those people that know that watch SpongeBob, that was the episode where he went to rock bottom. I think that was the name of the episode. That's where 2020 put me at one point in time. It was just like, okay, I have to get back to the surface ASAP,
Yeah,
because if not,
quickly.
yeah, and I mean, I need to get the fuck ASAP, as Tokyo Tony said. Like I got to, and as Mama D said, I deserve to be in a better space. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, what's your 2020? If you could put your 2020 in one word, I know that's hard, but I know you're a former English teacher, so you got abundance of words over there that you can use. If you could put your 2020 into one word, how would you classify it and why?
You want another word that really came to my mind?
This is introspective thoughts. That's what we do.
Shit. Like, and not in terms of it was shitty, but more so like, damn, something else again? What now? Like, and that's not to say I didn't have triumphs, because in a lot of ways, it's been a really beautiful year for me in terms of figuring out what I'm capable of, in terms of letting shit go. It's been really beautiful, but at the same time, it's just stacking and stacking and stacking and stacking. But with that, I mean, you got to get it out for more to come in. So I
No,
guess
that's
that's,
good.
yeah, shit. Release a lot of releasing for new to come in.
It's interesting that you say that, because on a couple episodes ago we talked with Tario, we talked about detachment, and we talked about
Hmm.
the need for detachment and why it's important to detach in order for you to, one, grow, but two, to let new things in. And I know for me, this year definitely has taught me that. As far as detachment, that's not my word for the year, but 2020 has definitely taught me detachment in the sense of, like, and I mean, I can go in several different categories. It taught me to detach from, the physical, in a sense of like being detached from the world, being in the world but not of the world.
Right.
That's been a recurring thing for me over this past year. It made me detach from materialism. Like, I'm so caught up in money and caught up in garnering all these things, and wanting all of these different things, to the point where it put me down on my ass and said, no, nigga, you're going to be broke for a majority of the year. And guess what you're going to do? Deal. Okay? That's all you're going to do. But then it also made me detach from this idea of not being able to trust anybody or anything else, or to be able to trust myself, right?
Yeah.
Because what this is what we talked about, when we talked about detachment. I've had this mindset since age 12, like roughly sixth grade, I guess, where I was like, if I don't do it, nobody else is gonna make it happen. I have to be the person to go out and make it happen on my own.
Yep.
I have to make this work, and I have to do this work. And if I don't do this work, it's not gonna happen. Now, granted, that's not necessarily a lie, but when you have that up as use it as a block instead of a form of like gasoline to push you forward, like
Yeah.
taking that energy and putting it back under yourself, you end up stopping yourself from getting to certain levels and certain levels of attainment, and getting to these things that you want to get to. And in that, I learned that, had I not did that and just, detached from money and detached from that materialism, and learn to take a step out on faith and just go out,
Yeah.
go with what I feel, thought, and believe for myself, regardless of what anybody else think, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't have had the revelation, a couple months ago at this point, that I'm exactly where I said I wanted to be in
Right.
January, and my job in January, and I've told y'all this multiple times at this point, I, like Chelsie, up and quit my job at the top of the semester. I said, "No, this is bullshit. I got to go. This ain't it."
I told you, I was like, I feel like you're not gonna make it through the semester.
Right, because it wasn't realistic. Like, and I had known in November, and it was right around this time in November where I knew it's time for me to go.
This is when we had our conversation.
Yeah, and I literally felt it in my body. I felt it in my spirit, but something just kept telling me, "Nah, keep pushing, try to get through, make it through the year, make it through all this, is that, and the third, And then I come back, and there's so many different reasons that showed me to the point where if I didn't remove myself from that position or from that space, I would have been in the hospital for, whatever reason, right? And like I said, that in itself made me step out and take a leap of faith and go do what I want to do, because then that turned into me traveling to DC, falling in love with it, and here I am. I had to move to it. It made me step out on my own, look at my own talents, and look at my own, things that I offer to the world and stuff like that, and it made me realize I'm a lot more valuable than I think I am. And so why not take that same energy instead of giving it out to other people? I mean, not saying don't fully, don't just keep it all for yourself, but out of 100%, 75 of that needs to be going to you, like for real.
Focus on you first.
Right. Focus on you. Exactly. Focus on you first, self-preservation over everything first. But like I said, all throughout that, 2020 has definitely made me detached. It's made me detached from, old situations. That made me detached from people. I've had to cut family members off. I've had to put some people in their place. I've had to burn bridges. And it's not because I don't care for these people, but you've done me dirty for way too long at this point. And in order for me to get to my next level, you got to go. Like, I got to go and you got to go. And so we just both got to go. And so, all of that to say, my word for 2020 has been, I'm gonna break my own rule. It's been healing, but it's also been very eye-opening. Yeah. 2020 has definitely been eye-opening. Like I said, my veil was ripped and burned. Like, it just was like, there's no more veil. Like, you're gonna see things for what they are, regardless if you want to or not. You're gonna stop lying to yourself to say that these things are great and these things are okay, because they're not.
And they're not.
Because they're not, and they won't be. And until you figure that out, you will continue to give your energy to people and places and things, and continue to be a pushover, and continue to allow people to do this, that, and the third. And it's also, in doing that, it's been very, very healing. Like, if folk don't understand that this healing work and this healing process, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. It's like, when you scrape your knee and you go put that eye down and then rub alcohol on it, that bitch burn like a motherfucker. It stings.
Yeah.
That's the first start for it to heal. That's the first step for it to, heal and, get to where it needs to be. And so, like I said, for me, that's what 2020 has been holistically. And I even found myself writing in my journal recently where I was like, if it had not been for hitting rock bottom this year, I wouldn't know what it feels like to be fully 10 toes down in the power that people tried to kill out of me when I was a kid. Now, had I still been in that power, I'm sorry, we wouldn't have this country would not be the way it looks right now. It just wouldn't, because I'm sorry. It wouldn't be just because I know how powerful a person that I am now. It wouldn't look the way that it does now, or at least the space around me would not look the way that it does now. But now that I know that, it's like, okay, let's really go forth and make some moves happen. So yeah, I definitely can agree with that portion about it being shit too, because it definitely had a lot of fecal matter moments. Like,
but we need that,
right, you're right. Because without that growth, or without those, what does the song say? Without the low times, you can't appreciate the good times. Shout out to Walter Hawkins for that song. To the Hawkins family, grateful is what that song says. So yeah. So then my next question to you then is, what's your biggest lesson that you learned in 2020? I know that's like a oh my God, you can't be more
Um,
specific kind of question, but yeah.
Actually, it's wild because this whole conversation is just kind of going back to, well, today is Monday, right? And Monday is a fasting day for me. 'Cause it's a moon day, so I fast on moon hours since I was born on a moon day. And so I just take those practices really seriously. And so I will say one lesson, and then I'm gonna get to what the actual lesson is I got to this morning. One lesson is just really figure out what you enjoy doing, what helps you to be able to get up and go every day, because it has been such a year that's been stripping me, right? So I have to figure out what are those practices that get me out of bed each morning regardless. And so one of them is my like writing practice in the morning, journaling, and then automatic writing too. And I share that. But um, this morning I sat down and I pull cards for myself. I don't pull cards for anybody else. And I don't see that. I don't see myself pulling cards for other people unless it's like a, somebody asks. But after I journal, that's my way of like affirming and praying. And so I sat down and just more so I've used them for the affirmations that I have for the week. And so when I sat down to write after the cards were out, what came was you are the answer to being in alignment.
Woo!
Uh, and so I actually read it to you because I was like, bro, this is a joke. This is a game. We playing games, but it's not. And I think that's been the biggest lesson. So I wrote, Chelsie, you can help align with your higher self this week. You allow it to be all about you and your path, and it will naturally align with all that you're praying and hoping for. Seeking balance and aligning with balance is about trusting that the odds will be in your favor. Stand in your power and speak up for what you want, speak from your heart. And so I think that that has probably been the biggest lesson because honestly, when we talk about like money and struggle, and most people have seen that this year, but more than anything, it is just like trusting. And my constant prayer is that I'm in alignment. That's what I'm working towards, and realizing that everything that I let go, like some things have to come back. They come back differently, but they have to come back in order for me to live the life that I want to live and to get there. So yeah, I think the biggest lesson is that me, like I really learned me this year. So like you said, in terms of the veil, like not running, not you, Chelsie, you, my girl, you, girl.
Woo! I think it's time for a 60-second praise break, right? Just right there. Just before we could just right there. If you just wherever you are, just the running theme, because me and Chelsea talk about this all the time, how, and I've brought this up on the last episode with Khadijah. We were talking about a lot of mysticism and stuff like that. And one of the things that I tend to do is channel a lot of messages through music. And
right.
and there's a performance. I even brought up how I'm obsessed with watching, the Kojic Church or the Apostolic Church or some Baptist churches, and it's the musician in me that
You love a good gospel word, baby.
love a good gospel word.
You love a good gospel word.
And I love a good praise break. I love a good shout. Like even when I finished one of my major assignments, I'm gonna just tell you how this process went. I was like, oh my God, I'm done. Soulja Boy Don't came on, and I was like, let me just go ahead and throw a little ass on
that. Real quick.
Just put a little ass on that. But then I was like, okay, so that was my physical that needed to celebrate. Now my spiritual side was like, hold on, we need a war cry in this one. We need to shift the atmosphere, because you literally just finished something, a major assignment, and are slowly beginning to close out your first semester as a doctoral student, which I'm just still kind of dumbfounded that it's a thing. how I go from being a 12th grade government teacher in Memphis to now I'm, finishing my first semester as a doctoral student at Howard. It's just wild to me in DC. But in that, I found myself, going back and I found myself going back and watching that stuff. And there's a performance of Kurt Carr at West Angeles Church of God in Christ, where I think it was, I think it's Bishop Blake. I think it is his name. He is the presiding bishop of the entire Church of God in Christ, but it was his 51st year of being in ministry, which I was like, first of all, you've been doing this since I started doing the math. The man is 80, I think.
He up there.
Yeah, he is seasoned.
He up there.
That man is 80, and you've been doing this since you were in your 20s. Like he has been doing this for like a very long, and I don't even think it's 51 years in ministry. I think it's 51 years as the pastor of their church.
Oh, wow.
And so even that in itself is like, damn, you literally been leading this entire flock for half a century. That's wild just in itself. But Kurt Carr was there because I think Kurt Carr grew up in that church and stuff like that. I don't know the entire story behind it, but there was a song he did like a tribute melody for the Sunday morning selections and stuff like that, and started off with presence of the Lord is here. Gave you a snippet of that, and then went into the song "Let Everything That Hath Breath Praise the Lord," which is, for those that don't know, is based off of Psalms 150. And there was a refrain piece in the song that says, I owe you praise. And so for like the last, I'll say, month at this point, that's just been consistently playing in my head over and over again is I owe you praise. I owe you praise. And I'm like, why the hell do I keep hearing this? Like, not thinking that song is I'm talking to myself saying that you owe yourself praise. Look at all the stuff that you've done this year in 2020.
Yeah.
Look at everything that, regardless of what happens, you still standing, you still here, you still pushing forward, you still, have managed to move in the middle of a pandemic or in the middle of a panoramic. You managed to, cut off a lot of different dead weight that did not serve you, and you still live and you still made it through, you still progressing, you still, pushing forward and making it shape. You owe yourself praise. Like everybody always say, and I know a lot of, religious zealots are probably gonna look at me like I'm crazy. We always take the time to praise God, but we don't ever take the time to praise self, as if God don't live within us. Yeah. And so even going off of what you just said, is like, it's been you, the one that's been, making this stuff happen. Like, I have to turn around and look at myself and say, nigga, you did that. Like, you did a lot. Yeah. You did some great stuff. And, you got to a different level that you thought was unattainable at one point in time. And like I have said before, I couldn't, well, like I wrote in my journal, like I said earlier, I couldn't have wanted it any other way, because me wishing it that would have been different don't change it. That just keeps me stuck in the past. But all I can do is focus on the right now and how the right now is going to take me forward into the future. And so even with you just saying, like, it's been you, it's been, the work that you've been putting in for yourself. And that's what's been getting you to where you had to get to, of course, with all of your spiritual team involved as well. And even the physical team that you have around you, that, or your tribe or your community, your ecosystem, or whatever you have, all of those different things coming together to make sure that you have what you need and can, get where you have to get to. It's like, damn, 2020 definitely may have kicked my ass, but at the same time,
at the same time, like, let yourself know, like, be proud of yourself.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and you can make it happen, because I think in the same vein that we are hard on ourselves, because I'm more likely to criticize myself than I am to praise myself. And that's just because I'm used to achieving at a high level, at a high standard, always. And so this is this phase of life for me where I don't feel like I'm where I need to be, right? But yeah, even then, I think what a big part of that, and the lesson, and really just you and me, is just being able to, like you said, the 2020, look at it for what it is. Like, yes, you do things well. Okay, you might need some work here, but overall, like, you're doing what you need to do and keep moving. Don't stop.
Because when you stop, that's not progression, it's stagnancy. And people don't think about stagnancy. They think it's just like a physical thing, but you can get stagnant in your emotions and in your mental and in your spiritual.
Man, look, don't get me started.
Oh, okay.
It's the internal stuff. Like the physical environment. Honestly, that's secondary.
Ooh, talk about it. Talk
Cause
about it.
if look, because if I get stuck in my mind, and I don't think we talk about it often enough, or we do, but like the mental trenches are no joke. Um, it's no joke.
No, seriously, they're
The
not.
spiritual trenches are no joke.
They not.
It's not a joke at all. And I think often as a society overall, we tend to look at it as like people aren't doing enough, or they're lazy, or they're this and they're that. And I'm like, yes, it's some of that too, but have you ever been blocked in your mind and in your spirit?
Mm, mm. Because them blocks in your mind and your spirit, that's your spirit is the vehicle that drives the physical in the first place.
Yeah, like, and that's why I say like learning practice is like learning what works for me. Like when I do this, I feel like this, but when I do that, boy, I thought I was tired. Only got a couple hours of sleep, but somehow because of what I'm doing, what I'm engaging in, I'm good to go. Or so for some crazy reason, I function best when I wake up about 2 a.m. Hmm, who knew? You know what I mean? So I think it's just learning, and it's just a whole curve of things. Whereas like if I were teaching and I started going through that process when I was teaching, sorry, I speak with my hands, ain't nothing over there. But if I, was going through that process and I was waking up at 1 a.m., I'm like, why am I up, bro? Like, what is it to do? Like, I'm down on myself because I'm like, well, I don't got to be at work till 7 or 8. Like, what I'm gonna do with these hours? And so I think that overall, it's been a process to kind of help me get here. But it's again, if you're stuck in my schedule should be this, I should be doing that. I should be anything that comes and it differs with that. If you're a person who's and I can be really fixed, if you're a person that, the change is tough, you can get those mental blocks or those spiritual blocks where it's just like, I can't go on.
Like, no.
It sucks, but like real deal, you'll be like, you know how ants or, they see the cracks and then they go back. Those are real moments.
No, and it's
I
interesting.
don't think people talk about it for real, for real.
They don't, and it's interesting because you said a lot of things that make me think of. Um, it makes me think just in general, like as far as like being that strict and stringent on a certain schedule, and your things have to look a certain way in order for you know certain things to happen the way that you want to.
Yeah.
The thing that I've been, and I've said this multiple times on this platform, and people who've had conversations with me about my ideas as far as like economics and stuff are concerned, as far as like what should the Black community be doing in order to achieve power and not have to compete with anything in this capitalist ass society.
Mm-hmm.
My solution to things was always collective economics, and I always juxtapose collective economics with capitalism, where capitalism says that you know you're only great according to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas collective economics says whatever you bring to the table is just as good. And I think that because we are in this society and we get the mindset that, we have to be up at a certain amount of time. We have to go do this job. We have to work this job for X amount of years in order to be successful. We have to have these degrees and we have to have these certificates and these accolades and all these other different things in order to be deemed as successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we end up blocking ourselves in other manners, as you said. And then be wondering why we feel so unfulfilled at the end of it.
Yeah.
Or be wondering why we feel so stagnant, or wonder why we're depressed, or wonder why we're so anxious about things, or wonder why anything under the sun, right? And for me, that's been, like I said, one of the things that I've had to learn myself is where, because we've had this conversation about, our former supervisor, where he laughed because he was like, why are you up at 2-3 o'clock in the morning working on lesson plans? And I'm like, because that's when the creative juices flow, girl. Like
That's when they flow, baby.
that's when
You didn't know?
you didn't know. If you
Let
didn't
me
know, now
learn you something.
okay. If you didn't know, now you know.
Now you do.
Because for me, and even I told him, I was like, I said, I'll even conduct an experiment. I said, if you look at the previous week's lesson plans, I did those when I got off work, or did them while I was at school, versus these I'm doing at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Which ones were better? He was like, the ones that you did at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I said, exactly. I said, because I don't have any distractions. My energy is fresh, is creative. Like, I get a lot done in the early, in the early morning hours. And it took me, like you said, in that process, you were going through that process as a teacher. I was going through that process as well, where I would notice, like, thank God I had my planning periods first thing in the morning, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have got nothing done with everything that they had me doing in school. But in that, it made me realize, like, I'm a lot more productive in the morning, and I'm a lot more productive with doing 3 hours worth of work a day versus dedicating 7 to 4 p.m. to doing work, and then be wondering why I'm exhausted at 5 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock trying to cook, and then by 6:45 I'm trying to go to bed because I'm tired. Like, and then be wondering why I'm so burnt out. Is because I'm not taking that energy and putting it back onto myself, and I'm not dedicating that time to myself, and I'm not honoring my own energy as it is. And so that was another thing for me that 2020 had to teach me, especially being here in, this space now, where I'm creating this content, producing it, editing, social media, all of that, finding people, getting people to come on to interview and stuff like that, while also working on the doctoral program. I have 4 classes this semester, and all of them were writing intensive. Like, they were seriously writing intensive. Like, every assignment that I had for one class required me to write. Another class required 4 papers and 3 presentations. Another one is requiring I transcribe an interview. And originally I had a lot of field experiences, but because we've been in a panoramic, it wasn't gonna work, And so, but being in this space, I've had to go back and readjust and relook at and rethink productivity, right? Because, and this was one of the major lessons. I asked you, like, what was the lesson that you learned? One of the major lessons for me in 2020, along with, like, breaking other things and learning detachment and learning to trust and just be in flow, was also lost train of thought. The biggest lesson that I learned was learning how and where to put my energy. Like, learning that being busy does not mean being productive. Right? And I think a lot of people get that confused, where a lot of us find ourselves being busy because of the way that we've been indoctrinated, the way that we've been educated, the way that we've been taught. Is that if we, like, I remember specifically, if, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Black folk got the same, upbringing, that resting in the house, if your folks was up doing something, you had to be up doing something, because
idle time is the devil's, what is it? Something like that.
What is it? The idle mind is the devil's playground.
Something like that.
Like, if you're not doing something, then you are inherently doing something bad, which that in itself comes from slavery. You always have to be working and doing something in order to be seen as a quote unquote good person, a good child. And I didn't realize that until I listened to the Friend Zone, and that was Friend Zone is one of the podcasts that I listened to. And they did a hot button segment on that about what it means to be the good kid versus the bad kid. And when they said that, I was like, no wonder I'm sitting here thinking, like, I have to be doing something at all times, and then I feel bad because I don't sit down and rest. And then when I don't sit down and rest, that's when burnout hits. Because one thing that I noticed about me is every October, around the midpoint of October, we'll say about October 10th, about October 20th, I always hit burnout. Every year, it never fails. I hit burnout. And it's because I never honored my energy like I needed to. Because of that idea, like I always had to be busy doing something. But then I even realized me being busy doing stuff doesn't necessarily mean that there's an outcome that's coming to something. And so I had to switch that entire thought process and that entire paradigm to where now, like I said, I only do 3 hours worth of work. Like some of my cohort members look at me crazy because they're like, you want to do 3 hours worth of coursework? Yeah. And whatever don't get done in them 3 hours will get pushed off until tomorrow. And my Friday evenings, well, at this point in time, my body keeps telling me we're not doing nothing on Fridays. Like, we're just not. Like, I know you got class right now, but if we cannot have class on Friday next semester or going forward, Friday is your top to bottom self-care and rest day, because you just need to take care of yourself. You need to rest. And I even realized that, which science will prove this and research will prove this, that you're a lot more productive when you have rest.
Right.
When you take a break, when you go to sleep, when you take a nap, which I really wish, corporate America would start, giving people 2-hour lunch breaks, so you can go and get lunch and then come back and take a nap. Go to lunch for 30 minutes and come back for the other hour and a half, and you can just take a nap, like, and you can just do whatever you want to. Because I again had to realize that for myself. I know I'm long-winded, but I had to realize that for myself as a teacher. When we would go to lunch, by the time we got out of school at 3:15, by the time 1:30 hit, I was like, I'm tired. I need a nap. Like, I need to go to bed. Like, I need to, but I had to keep pushing and keep making it, keep going until I got home at 4:30. We get on the couch at 4:30. I'm out by 4:33, and I'm not up again until 8 o'clock because I'm tired. And then we'll literally go back to sleep and get a full 8 hours of sleep and get right back up and do it again. And it's just like, that's not healthy for us, and it's not okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think back to the idle mind and the devil's playground, and even that going back to slavery. I think it makes sense to say that back then because they understood the power of the brain. There was a reason why they didn't want us to read, right? And so even now, like, and I think, before we started recording today, you asked me, like, well, what am I working on? And I'm like, I'm always working, I'm transitioning. And what I have come to learn is that even in my rest, I'm working. And that has been one of, probably the best revelation, to be honest with you. And I mean that, like, literally and figuratively. So when I'm sleeping, when I'm dreaming, all kind of information coming through. So literally, but also when I'm just resting, when I decide to do nothing, whatever I couldn't remember earlier, it's right there. Because all I needed to do was sit down and take my eyes off whatever I just felt like I needed to be doing. But yeah, it's an overall tough concept, especially if you are used to the 9 to 5 schedule, which is also the school schedule. If you've never been outside of that, and for sure, the good kid, bad kid, I've wrestled with that, because for me, it was like, you get good grades, no excuses, you're not an average student. It was a standard from jump. And so I ran with it. And to some extent, that's a beautiful thing, but it also doesn't leave very much room for error. And you need the error to grow. And so in this phase of life, it's been more of the like, okay, I failed. Oh, okay. I really failed. But also learning that that doesn't mean that I failed. It just means, okay, get up. And that's okay. And also I realized that I'm way more of a rebel than I thought I was.
I mean, ain't we all?
Everybody could always see that about me, but your girl was lost. I ain't know. Because I was so used to fitting the like good kid mode and the whatever. And then here I come, like, yeah, you the free spirited cousin. Well, shit, why didn't y'all tell me? I didn't know. Somebody should have tapped me on my noggin and let me know, because I was just fitting the mold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely understand because I, I mean, that's interesting that you say that because some of my cohort members had to bring it out of me as well. They was like, we can tell you are a very rebellious and very insightful person, but you've been through a lot without me even telling my full story, where I've had to simmer
Navigate,
down
bring it
for
down.
other people, right? And again, as I've said on here before multiple times, and I will keep preaching this sermon until it makes sense because clearly somebody needs to hear it. Where my therapist told me, she was like, is it, is it that the fact that that you were too much, was it why was that an issue? And I told her, I said, literally had the revelation in the moment while I was sitting in therapy, where I was like, it wasn't that I was too much for other people, it's that they just wasn't enough for themselves. And in that, I had to realize, like, you know there comes a responsibility with this rebellious attitude and rebellious spirit, but two, it also comes with a lot of heat and a lot of flack from people. It
Yeah.
comes with with its own territory, as Uncle Ben said on Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. But
Right.
I didn't realize how much power there was in that. And you know
You can scare yourself.
it really did, and it did, like, it legitimately did, like. And when my cohort members was like one of my cohort members, she was on here before, y'all know her, Leanna Pearson, which I hope y'all went and supported her stuff. Y'all, it's the holiday season, I ain't just yet over with. Go buy some things, go support her, stuff. Anyway, um but she called me out one day when we were having a Saturday class, and me and another cohort member of mine, we were talking about how some Black people put their sexuality over their race, which I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. But I was just sitting and listening to the conversation because I'm just like, I don't really just have much to add. And she literally called me out and she said, Charles, I feel like you being silent because you don't want to rock the boat, and I need you to open your mouth and say something. And I was like, bet. Well, since the garage door has been open, let's go ahead and back this car all the way in. Let's go ahead and parallel park this mug in the driveway, right? And by the time I gave my entire analysis of what I felt and thought and believed, and the whole rationale for, like, gave both sides of, like, I get why some Black people put their sexuality over their race. Like, the point that I was making was that because sexuality, as far, especially homosexuality and being trans and all this other stuff, is seen as white people shit. A lot of people, black folk, have had their race, have had their Blackness called into question because of that. It's just the same tip as, like, talking white, or it's always that proximity to whiteness, right? But once I got through giving that whole spiel, the other cohort member, like, you could tell a light bulb, went off in his head, because he was like, oh shit, I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it was that helped me realize that, I'm more powerful than I ever have given myself credit for, or that I've ever, I ain't gonna say cared to realize, or that I've realized in general. And, I tell people this all the time, like, on some Memphis nigga shit, you should have killed me when you had the chance. You should have really just taken it out and did it when you had the chance. I said, because now that I really know what it is, all of this is coming down. All of it is about, I'm challenging everything and everybody. And if you're not ready, you best get ready, because I'm coming and knocking on your door very, very soon. You just haven't got to you yet. And so, with that whole rebellious spirit, like, I 100% understand that. Like, have to definitely add that to the list of things in 2020. Definitely, like, I need you to realize this too. Let me hand that to you as well. So that way we all on the same page and we understand what this is and what it was, what it is, and what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
So.
And even like being a rebel as a positive thing, I think has been, I don't know, revelatory for me, because I had my grandmother, my granny told me, she was like, yeah, you've always been a rebel. She's like, you've always walked to the beat of your own drum and XYZ. And I'm like, what? But she could, of course, she saw it. She told me very early on, she said, you got discernment. And of course, we use different words now to speak on what discernment is in different circles, but in the religious sector, she's like, you got discernment. And even then, knowing like I was speaking on things that I knew about, but I couldn't tell you how. And understanding that I didn't mean any harm by it. I really didn't. That's just what I thought, or that's just what I whatever. But again, when you do say things that rock the boat, and it's like, no, that was the first thought in my head. It can scare people because they don't see it. So I agree with you.
Woo.
Wild ride, wild ride.
Wild ride. Okay, it's gonna be the last question that I'm gonna ask because
Okay.
I want people to take some time to go and hopefully this interview is gonna make you do that. But I want people to take some time and go and reflect on their 2020, especially with this being New Year's Eve that this episode is coming out on. Or at least I hope it'll be New Year's Eve because the way shit playing out right now in this country, we'll see what this look like. But anyway, my last question to you is, what has been your biggest success of 2020? I know you got something in the bag. Pull something out the bag. What you got?
I think my biggest success of 2020 is when I published the abortion blog, probably. And I'll just use that as an overall, like in terms of like achievements. I think I have personal wins that are probably bigger than that, but on terms of like it hits every facet of who I am. Probably putting that blog out about my abortion experience was, I don't know, that was pretty major for me.
Okay, I definitely I can. I don't want to say necessarily that I agree as far as like that is as far as like it being major, because I mean I ain't never experienced nothing like that. I
Right.
ain't even. I'm still, hung up on being a doula as far as the conversation me and Morgan had, because I'm still like, Black women need that. Black women just need everything. Like, y'all just need all
Right.
the support that y'all can get, you know. But if y'all haven't read that, that post, take some time when you get finished here and go read that, because I know for me, just from the outside looking in, when you posted that, I saw a whole shift. Maybe not a 180 shift, but at least a 90-degree shift from one mindset that you were in and, transitioning out of the classroom and transitioning into your own thing. And you may not remember, but that conversation that we had when you came and got me from B&A, from the airport, and we was driving past Mount Zion Baptist Church, and I'm just sitting here getting all these downloads, and I'm like, what if this is the thing that sends you into your next, your next level, your next journey, and puts you on your next step? And since then, I've literally just watched it, just by way of standing in the corner over yonder, just watched it unfold for you. And it's dope to see how both of us were, walking similar paths, like from being at UT to working in housing to being in campus organizations, being campus leaders, being co-workers, and having the opportunity to educate the kids in Metro Nashville. It just kind of watching all of that, and then to go to the point of, breaking away from the traditional way of doing things up into doing your own thing and walking to the beat of your drum, as your grandmama said. My mama also said the same thing. You always the person that's gonna do what the hell you want to. I had to realize that I can't do it. Like, she literally said this. She was like, somebody told her, was like, you can't tell Charles to do X, Y, Z. She said, Charles gonna do whatever the hell he wants to do at the end of the day. I can't tell that boy nothing. I'm like, I'm glad you realized that. I don't know what took you so long to figure that out, but glad you realized it. But just looking at that path and how the trajectory has gone from here to here in the span of, what is it, about 5 or 6 years at this point? It's probably been way longer than that, But to see all of that and to see how that shift is really starting to gain momentum, And I ain't saying starting to gain momentum as it's like starting right now, but it's really been gaining momentum as we go. It's dope to see that transition as a whole, you know, and to see that success going forward, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say for me, my success of 2020 was when I can't say Howard because that ain't been a success yet. I ain't done with it yet. You know, getting here was like
Getting there is a success.
is a success. Yeah, getting here is a success in itself. But I'm like, I want more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have to say the biggest success for me of 2020 is finally standing up for myself to other
Mm-hmm.
people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that in itself, when you have to gather your parents together or gather one of your parents together, and I mean gather them
Mm-hmm.
together, like that could be a very, very, very frightening thing. But then when you realize, or at least for me, when I realized that I had spiritual backing, however it played out was how it was going to play out first and foremost. But for me, it was a huge success because that's what then catapulted me into where I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because having that moment to have a conversation that turned into a one-sided argument, um, and then turned into a we don't even talk to each other, speak to each other. I mean, we really weren't doing it to begin with, but like literally, I flat out told this man, I don't want shit else to do with you. Period. After this, we're done forever. Like I don't want none of this. That we ain't got to see each other. We ain't got to talk to each other. It ain't got to be no high bye. But I'm not the type of person. I'm always gonna be cordial. But you know, however you handle it and do with it, that's on you. But I'm grateful for that opportunity because it showed me just how courageous I truly am. And
Mm-hmm.
it showed me the power of getting over my fears and getting over things
Yeah.
that, you know, once hindered me from going my own way, I guess, you know, going
Mm-hmm.
my own way, doing my own thing. Because what I didn't realize, and, you know, tarot would definitely show you this, that Emperor card kept coming out several times. And for those that don't know anything about tarot, you know, the Emperor card is talks about, you know, talks about a masculine figure in your life, talks about a staunch like masculine role in your life. It talks about, you know, following those traditional values with that, and the Hierophant card talks about following those traditional values, Hierophant being mostly in like religious aspects, whereas the Emperor card, blanked out for a second. The Emperor card is more so like the familial type things, right? And I kept seeing that card several times to the point where I was like, you know what? I need to get rid of this because this is one of the biggest hindrances to me getting to where I need to go. Like we was talking a couple of episodes ago with Ontario about detachment, you know, that was one of the things where had I not let that go, that wouldn't have been a domino effect of the point to where I'm like, now when I see people who doubt me trying to get to the next level or who say X, Y, and Z to me and then expect me to just be okay with it after the fact, I'm just like, nah, we're not doing that. And I'm not giving you that type of time or that energy. And so now it's made me more cognizant of how I give my energy out to people. It makes me more cognizant of the reciprocity that I give or that I don't receive. And that in itself has made me more of a success, right? It's made me more of a outgoing person and more of a person that, you know, speaks their truth to power, you know, regardless of how people feel about it, regardless of what people say, regardless of what people think they're gonna do, because what you're not gonna do is fight me. I'm just gonna be real. You're not gonna fight me. So, and even if you try, all I gotta do is break the fourth wall and look at my spirit team, be like, you want to handle this, or you want me to handle this? Like, how do y'all like? How are we gonna do this? Because I can handle it, but I don't feel like catching a charge. But if y'all handle this, we can make this look like accident and, you know, go on about our life. But like I said, all of that in itself definitely has made, you know, that in a long list of other things, um, I can definitely say has been one of my successes of 2020. Again, even though this year came with a vengeance, it was like, oh, I'm cleaning house and you hoes
Yeah.
better get ready. and niggas who still wasn't ready. Some niggas still ain't ready, you know.
Yeah.
But it's dope to be able to take this time to kind of step back, reflect, and look back on it and be like, damn, I did that. Even though everything came against me, as Fred Hammond said, wrong
Mhm.
Fred, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. It won't work. And that's literally what's been keeping me going for at least the last few months at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah. Any of the final questions, comments, concerns, cries of outrage for the class before we get out of here, Miss Bennett?
Um, I do have I have a question for you.
Okay.
And because I know you talk about detachment, and I think that that's something that I always thought that I mastered very well. But I also realized that there's a thin line between detachment and ignoring to pop back up later. And so, my question, my good introspective sir, is do you think that all of the things that you've released this year, do you think that you truly detached from them? Or do you think that they are still on your coattail to come back up later?
It's interesting that you asked this question because my therapist asked me this same question in like September, right?
Oh, okay, so I'm on I'm studying, I'm working. I told you I'm transitioning, so this is good.
No, I feel it and I respect it and I appreciate you asking.
Mhm.
And I'll give it in context, right?
Yeah.
So because we've had this conversation before, but I don't know how much I've told people on the airwaves, you know, all my
And you don't
business.
have to go like super in, you don't have to give me details. I don't want to, make it, I just in general, like,
No. But I want to give this so it all makes sense, right?
okay.
And so for me, like I told y'all before, I literally have not clocked into nobody's 9 to 5 since January 21st, 2020. Here it is, you know, the end of 2020, and I still haven't done it,
Yeah.
right? And so, of course, that comes with a lot of worries surrounding finances, surrounding security, surrounding, you know, whether or not you're going to be taken care of, right?
Mhm.
And my therapist asked the exact same question because of the mental space that I was in at that point. She asked me, do you feel like that if this situation comes back around again, do you feel like that you're going to go back into the same headspace that you are now in the future? My response to her then was, I'm not sure, but I know because of where I am right now is a replay of where I was 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. Um, just based off of experience, I'm not going to completely rule it out. I
Mhm.
can confidently say that right now, that just with that example alone, I'm chilling. You know, here it is, you know, closer towards the end on the back half of the month, then I still ain't got this rent paid. You
Mhm.
know, credit card companies calling me saying, so when you gonna pay this mug? And I'm like, I'll let you know when I find out. You know, when
Yeah.
I get the ducats, you get the ducats. But all in all, as far as to answer your question as a whole, I would say for me personally, there's still some things that are still on my coattails, but I have to chalk that up to PTSD. Like, because that is something, you know, though I have not been formally diagnosed by a psychiatrist, I'm like, come on now. If it walk like a duck and quack like a duck, ask about the motherfucker at work because it's definitely Affleck.
Mhm.
But I definitely there's a lot of situations where I will literally have flashbacks to him, and I'm just like, why do I keep doing this? Like, and I'm like, I definitely thought I healed from him, but of course we all know, well, some of us know, the healing is not linear. It's very circular. Like growth is not linear. It's circular. Like you can be like this and come back around to the same situation just on a different level, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like some stuff I'm like, yeah, I've definitely, you know, let it go to the point where it literally doesn't impact me anymore. And I've taken it and alchemized it and used it in a way to where it does benefit me. But some stuff is just like, yeah, there's some more layers to it. So that's why I'm still holding on to my coattails. But
Mhm.
just from this year alone, I can tell you, like, I even said this before, like, you can look at my tweets and my tweets have changed a lot from January to now. you know, my thought process as a whole has changed from January to now. My journal entries, if you go back and look at that, has changed from January to now. And so it's like the growth is definitely happening. The detachment in a lot of ways has happened. But, you know, just to keep it $150, $175, and keep it 100% real with you, some of that stuff is still there, you know, but I don't expect it just to be gone after, like, okay, yep, I did this. I went and, you know, dotted these I's across these T's. Yeah, but you're still missing the punctuation mark.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I feel like for some of the stuff, that's what is missing. It's missing that final nail in the coffin. But I know my spirit is at Home Depot right now, getting nails and getting a hammer right now because we ain't got time for it. So, yeah.
Okay.
All right, then. I enjoyed that question. I appreciate that. So,
Mm-hmm.
what say you to that same question?
I think detachment is as most concepts, I think it's a very simple concept, but it's not easy. And I think that I've learned over time because I don't like conflict. So for me, I'm rebellious, but I don't fight. I really don't like to argue. So if I get to yelling, I've gone way too far. I've gone way too far. But I think that because I tend to avoid conflict, I think, okay, I can just detach really easily. And a lot of times it's just avoiding. Or I can say, I'm going to let this go, or I'm going to drop this person, or I'm going to whatever. But then I realize I really still care. And I can't make myself not care, but I can enforce those boundaries for myself. Or I can, so I think it's just as with most concepts, it's just a really thin line. But that's been, I don't know, I think that that's something that I'm definitely still working on every day in terms of detachment and trust, especially with just everyday life. So going back to the beginning of the conversation, like aligning with things like it's me. So the same way, like if I don't get something done, it's me. The same way if I do get something done, it's me. Like understanding that I can't always blame or, you know, chalk it up to whatever at the end of the day, as much as I want to. I don't know. It's just the balance of the things, but it's never completely done. I think just learning that is it's a constant.
I like that. I like that. Well, to wrap up this conversation, drop your socials. Ted, where can people find you and get in contact? Where can they read some of your work and stuff? Because y'all definitely need to go read what she's reading. She got a lot of good stuff out there. How can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. My personal pages are at _ Chelsie Renee. So that's at _ CHELSIERENEE. And there are other platforms coming soon. So yeah.
Ooh.
And you can find my blogs on Medium, and that's Chelsie Bennett.
Okay, then please make sure y'all go and support, go read her stuff, go follow her. She be dropping gems on people y'all don't know. I tell y'all, she has been a long time friend and mentor. We've had the same conversation that y'all see us having here. This is what we do in real life. So
yeah.
It's every bit of necessary and every
very grounding conversations.
Yes, I mean, like we be sitting there for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Like, you want to go get something to eat and have this conversation because damn, we've been here for
Oscars.
Don't talk about Oscars. I can't even have Oscars, and they've been texting me talking about we got this issue. We got some sales and some deals, and I can't.
She's like, I miss you too, boo.
I miss me too. I miss you too. I wanted 2 vegetarian tacos with a side of salsa too. Damn it, hell. But you know, one of these days I'm gonna get down there. That and I miss the cupcake place down there because I need a sweet
cupcake collection.
Yes, I need a sweet potato cupcake in my life. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, there's a place in Nashville, and I think they're also in New Orleans as well, called Cupcake Collection. It's a Black woman-owned cupcake business, and they have a sweet potato cupcake. My God, I mean,
Diego.
I mean, she like. I can't even put the correct words to describe that damn cupcake, but that cupcake is so rich, it's moist, it's decadent. It's got a cream cheese frosting on top of it, and it tastes like
going in.
I mean, it literally tastes like Thanksgiving.
It's really good though.
I mean, like when I first got one, like I had to go back in and get like 3 more because they were good. They were that good. And even the other cupcakes, like she does a strawberry cupcake, of course, does a strawberry cheesecake. She's got the wedding cake. She's got like lemon blueberry cheesecake. She's got all these different ones, not cheesecakes, cupcakes. And all of them are, I mean, top notch, amazing. And apparently they ship too. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and place your order on that real quick. Or tell somebody who want to sponsor, Introspective Thoughts, and sponsor me some cupcakes and celebrate the end of season 1 of Introspective Thoughts, because that's what we did around here. And with that being said, I have to say again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of my guests that have joined me on this here platform on Introspective Thoughts. Thank you to all of the viewers. Thank you to all of the listeners. Thank you to everybody that has showed love and showed support on this here platform and has helped me progress from, start point A to now here we are at the end of 2020 and the, very final episode of season 1 of Introspective Thoughts. I am eternally grateful. I'm continuously grateful for this opportunity, to interview a lot of my friends, because they have a lot of great, aspects and ideas and thoughts that I just honestly believe that need to be shared. This whole platform is created out of me wanting to just talk to people, because that's what I do best. I run my mouth. I don't know how to shut up sometimes. And so why not, put it towards something beneficial like this, where everybody else can have a platform to say what they need to say and let it be heard without, feeling like they can't. I've always felt like that as a child, and so might as well create the platform so other people don't have to feel that same way too. Also, shout out to all of the new people that I've met because of Introspective Thoughts. The new people that I've gained as tribe members, that I've gained as close friends, I've gained as brothers now. Because they wanted to be on this platform and because they wanted to share with me and share this space with me. Y'all, every single person that has touched this airwave or touched this Zoom recording studio session with me, y'all made it. Y'all made this worthwhile, and I can't be anything less than grateful right now for so. But I look forward to seeing y'all on the other side of December 31. Yeah. Hopefully that we make it with no bullshit to go on in this country, because my God, it looks crazier every day as we go on. But we speak great.
But we gonna be all right.
But we gonna be all right, as Kendrick Lamar said. We gonna be the fuck all right. So with that being said, I hope you all have a very safe and happy new year. I hope that you all have a very safe and prosperous 2021. I hope your 2020, as shitty as it may have been very insightful. I hope that you learned something.
Good shit.
I hope it's been good shit. I hope it has been very good shit. Mm-hmm. And I hope that everything that you want to come into fruition in 2021. I hope that it does, because 2020 definitely set the stage for it. And with that being said, and most importantly understood, y'all be great, and I holla.